Luke 23:32 through 43. Two others, both criminals, were led out to be executed with him. When they came to a place called the Skull, they nailed him to the cross, and the criminals were also crucified, one on his right and one on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And the soldiers gambled for his clothes by throwing dice. The crowd watched, and the leaders scoffed. He saved others, they said. Let him save himself if he really is God's Messiah, the chosen one. The soldiers mocked him, too, by offering him a drink of sour wine. They called out to him, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." A sign was fastened above him with these words, "This is the King of Jews." One of the criminals hanging beside him scoffed, "So you are Messiah, are you? Prove it by saving yourself, and us too, while you're at it." But the other criminal protested, "Don't you fear God, even when you have been sentenced to die? We deserve to die for our crimes, but this man hasn't done anything wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise."
Good job. I'm always interested in who's helping with worship, and I'm glad I had the chance to mention Raya's name. I remember when I pastored here a few years ago, Ruth Clymer, some of you will remember her. Ruth Clymer wanted to be my worship leader. We both had birthdays on August 1st. And so Ruth Clymer was my worship leader. And I remember I didn't want Marcio to feel too aged because she was 80 and I was 40 on that particular Sunday. Now I'm 80. Well, we won't get into that. Police recently stopped a teenager in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. There had been complaints that a car had been going around the neighborhood in reverse. The driver told the police that his parents let him use the car that evening, but that he had put too much mileage on it. He said, "I was just trying to unwind some of it." There are aspects of our lives that all of us would like to rewind. How nice it would be if driving around the neighborhood would just erase our actions. But going out after worship to the parking lot, putting our car in reverse, and keeping it there doesn't do it. Something more is needed. Guideposts magazine tells a story about Eddie Dreyer. He was a professor of New Testament at Baylor University, and his students loved him. He died in 2006 at the age of 92. When Dreyer was in the 7th grade, his teacher assigned a term paper warning that she would not accept late papers. Eddie came down with the flu and missed a couple weeks of classes. He did not finish the term paper on time, and his teacher refused to accept the paper. Angry and frustrated, Eddie dropped out of school. He picked cotton and worked at odd jobs in the midst of the Great Depression, helping to provide for his family. One day, a businessman in the church approached Eddie Dreyer with an opportunity. He said, "If you'll go back to school, I'll buy your books for you." Eddie was 17 and embarrassed to go back to the 8th grade, but he accepted the man's offer. He got a second chance. He became a student of great character in his high school, and he went on to college. There he met with success and eventually became a well-known professor at Baylor that encouraged and mentored many students. When Jesus was dying on the cross, he offered a second chance to a thief who was dying next to him for the crimes he had committed. The thief turned to Jesus, repented, and is remembered for one of Jesus' most repeated verses in the Bible. Today you will be with me in paradise. Jesus offered the thief the ultimate second chance. Christianity is a faith of second chances. Golfers use a term called a mulligan. It's simply a do-over. You hit a bad shot and repay the stroke. Mulligans are most often utilized in games among friends. They're not found in the official rules of golf. Friends offer a second chance. Sometimes in a charity game, mulligans are for sale. You can buy one or two, and your extra offering goes to the charity for which you are playing. Fortunately, you and I do not need to pay for second chances. Jesus paid that price for us on a hill called Calvary. There we will find grace. We love in the church to call it amazing grace and a second chance. Thank God for second chances, for they're at the heart of the Christian faith, as well as third chances and fourth chances, and on and on. When I was in my second pastorate in Waterloo, Iowa, I received a letter from a prisoner serving time at Brushy Mountain Prison in Tennessee. He was wanted for jailbreak in Mississippi and in Tennessee, and he was going to be paroled to Waterloo, Iowa, where he had committed 29 robberies. He was the radio and TV man of a large group of thieves from Kansas City. And John was going to pay for that crime that he had committed. But he wrote letters to all of the Baptist pastors in Waterloo to see if they would help him. He wanted to see if they would be good to the judge when it came time for his lack of sentencing for these 29 jobs in Waterloo. We became great friends because I visited him on the day he arrived, the morning of the next day after he arrived in Waterloo, Iowa. John, it's a long story, and we don't have time for it this morning, but he got acquainted with our family. He had breakfast in our home. We were building a coffee house ministry in Waterloo at the time, so I thought if I could get him out of jail, he could help us in the work to build the coffee house. The judge was very accommodating and agreed that John could go with me to work at the coffee house during the day. As he did, he met persons from our church family in Waterloo, Iowa. That's how we sort of know, Marcial, how sometimes who's a Christian, we meet them in strange places. Over time, we developed a strong bond of friendship with our family and the church family. Our church accepted him. One member, Del Kendall, gave him a job the store's name was Hawkeye Steel in Waterloo. And then a judge a little later, his name was Peter Van Meter, saw all of the support that John had, gave him probation instead of prison time. The faith of many helped restore John to a new life. And shortly before I moved from West Lafayette, I baptized John Rushing, and he became a member of First Baptist Church. The nominating committee, hear this, y'all, invited John to serve on the Board of Trustees of the First Baptist Church of Waterloo, Iowa. Quite a change from his life and the role that he played in our church. He married and raised 3 young men who became successful in their careers, 1 a teacher and 2 in the military. One of the twin boys, Ben, is second in command of the USS John Stennis aircraft carrier today. Christianity is a faith of second chances. A couple weeks ago, as you know, Gary Tyner, our organist, and John Amos, a faithful lay leader, spent 4 days as part of the Kairos ministry team inside the Westville prison with a group of offenders. Gary and John shared their faith and how the life of Jesus had touched and changed them. And a number of us offered prayers for the team and their ministry. Some of you baked cookies. Some children made placemats and bought meal tickets to support the team. And in planning the sermon for today, I asked Gary Tyner if he would tell something from his experience on that team. I sort of thought he might tell us something about second chances. Let's see what Gary has in mind.
Let's see what I come up with here. Yes, thank you, Gary. Second chances is a concept that the Kairos Prison Ministry is very comfortable with, but I have to tell you, Kairos doesn't give second chances. What we do is we help our inmates, our guests for the weekend, recognize when they arise, and we also help shine a light on them so that they know to take it when it happens. Every inmate, well, here's the lovely Westville Correctional Facility for those of you who have never been there. I believe it's the largest population-wise correctional facility in the state that the Indiana Department of Corrections owns. Go ahead. Yes, welcome to lovely Westville. That's the best looking thing at Westville, right there. This group of men right here, there are about 30 inmates in there, and that squeezed into that photograph. That picture's a few years old, but it was the last one that was ever allowed permission by the warden. After that, he decided to cut that off. So I'm very proud of that photo. That was my very first Kairos. Every inmate in that picture and that comes through our Kairos program will be given a second chance, but they have to know when that is, and they have to take it. Now, nationally, recidivism, when an inmate gets out, gets his freedom, then he winds up getting put back into prison, the recidivism rate in the whole country is about 70%. And I'm very proud to say that with those who have gone through the Kairos program, that number gets cut in half. So apparently we're doing something right. We're very proud of that. But let me tell you, go ahead and move on. Oh yeah, there's some of the things that the prisoners get to look forward to, a nice home-cooked meal. This is from a church in the local area, and this is just one of the volunteers, and she helps present about 70 meals, lunch and dinner, over the weekend. So we appreciate her very much. What you're looking at now is what we call a prayer and share. Some of you might be under the impression that we only do Kairos twice a year, and that's not true. We have a Kairos presence every week. The group that you're looking at right now is called a Tuesday night prayer and share. We have some of the local Kairos guys that don't have quite as far to drive as I do. that go in every week. And the members these are folks who have gone through the weekend, and they get to come back and they keep that fire alive that they got during the weekend. One of those guys in there is named Jerry. Jerry went through our Kairos weekend. He went through the prayer and shares. He went through our monthly reunions, and he even went through our quarterly instructional meetings that we call them. Jerry left about a year after that other photograph that you saw. He knew from going through our Kairos program, he knew to find a church. He knew to find new friends. He found a very supportive church that helped him, knew his background, and kind of wrapped their arms around him to help him. He also found a job in an apartment thanks to the church. And a little later on, he found a place on our Kairos team. We have about 3 former inmates on the Kairos team. You wouldn't know who they are unless they told you, of course. So Jerry took that second chance very well, we think. And his is not a unique story. It happens quite often. 2 weeks ago, our team was just closing up their weekend. It was number 28 for Westville. And I'd like to tell you that everything went well. So I will. It did. Everything went swimmingly. The Kairos community at the prison is bigger than ever now, with 30 brand new Kairos graduates. And more inmates now than ever are looking for their second chance. Thank you.
Is there any question that Christianity is not a faith of second chances? And Jesus has shown us that. Gary illustrated that. John Rushing illustrated that in my life and in his family's life. Second chances in our own lives. Do we allow them to happen? Will we, as we leave worship this morning, look at one another across this congregation and be aware that others are eager to have our prayers, our support, and following the example of our Lord, the thief on the cross? Today, you'll be with me in paradise. May God bless us and use us as the result of this time spent together this day.